URC Productions here, and we're at Uncle Jerry's garage. Some of you may have remember watching the other video of the 70 Hemi Cuda and the 67 Plymouth, where we showcased the Hemi was the showcase, and he was working on the 67 Plymouth. What's happening, Uncle Jerry?
Nothing much.
So I'm over here today, going to do a little welding on his door for him. He's got a little spot he needs welded, and he is doing a total restoration on this car. Now, those of you who don't know, the original video covers a lot more detail of the story, but this is a 1967 Plymouth Belvidere 1 383 4-speed car. It's a one of one because he special ordered this car back in '67, and he still has it. How old are you now, Uncle Jerry?
69.
69 years old. He's had this since 1967. It was restored once in the 80s, and now he is doing a second restoration. It was modified in the 80s, and he's bringing it all back to factory specs. So the last time we checked in, the car was all in primer. Now he has the top coat on it. He's doing some little fine body work spots you could see, doing a little touch up here and there. He did the interior. This car came with blue interior, and the door. Yeah, let's check the inside. The inside of the door panels, you can see the sheet metal work, where it's the blue, looks awesome. And then you see the blue dashboard, the seats. He had like lighter blue on the outside and then dark blue inserts in the seats. And what was you were telling me before, Uncle Jerry, about the post, the style of the body? Because they had the
two-door sedan.
Okay, and that was a little more rare, right? It was
Belvidere 1. Yeah, it's according to what my findings were, it's like one of 22 cars that were built with the options that I have on this car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of 22, and he ordered this with this package. And basically, what was the story with Grandpa, where you went to Grandpa and told him you wanted to buy something, or he?
No.
How did that work out?
I had a full-time job in my senior year, and I think he might have told me, well, if you'd like, you can get I'll sign for a new car for you, co-sign. And I thought, okay, I'll take advantage of that. And in April of '67, I was working at Amphenol Cable afternoon shift. So after school, I would go right over to my job and work there till midnight, and then come home. So I agreed on going and looking at some cars, and my dad would co-sign. So we went to Belvidere Motor Sales on Archer in Chicago and checked out the cars, and I bought a cheap model, which was the Belvidere 1 two-door sedan. It's probably considered the Roadrunner for 1967. But I ordered the 383 4-barrel, 4-speed, 390 posi, heavy-duty suspension, and I was so excited to be able to order it and get it that I forgot to order a radio. So it came in radio delete, which is pretty rare. And I ordered a 390 posi, but my dad kind of tricked me. When the car came in, it came in with a 323 posi, and I ordered a 391. So I thought back, when we were leaving the dealership, my dad said he had to use the washroom or something. He went back in, and I think when he went back in, he canceled the 391 posi order. So we laughed about it, me and my older brother Tom. But I fooled him, and I ended up getting a 391 posi and put that in. He never knew.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a good story, but stories like this are very, very rare. Let alone to acquire a car like this anymore. The values have just skyrocketed on the classic vehicles, especially the Mopars. They're very expensive. And to have one from the time you're in high school and still have it after all these years and all the things going on in life and everything is pretty much unheard of. So, Uncle Jerry, give us a little detail. Now, in the old days, or in the past, my Uncle Jerry used to use and my dad did, my Uncle Gene as well, would use the acrylic enamel with the hardener, and you would get a finish like this right off the bat. It would be nice and shiny. And I do know that like the lacquer jobs would go on real dull, and you'd have to buff them out. So what is this type of paint, and what's the difference from the enamel to what this more modern type of paint is?
This is what they call urethane paint, and it's a step above acrylic enamel. It's their latest. They have a two-stage, which is usually used with metallics, and you usually put a clear coat over it. But this is a single-stage urethane. It's super paint, but a little difficult to paint the first time, because I had my problems, but by the time I got down to the painting the body, I pretty much mastered it. And you can see it's kind of resembles the finish of a new automobile. So I don't really care for that type of pebbly orange peel that they call it. So I'm going to sand and buff this car, and it'll be a little more brighter and shinier than the way it came out of the gun, the way it sprayed out.
And you were showing me up here, well, you're showing me here, like on the door, you had a couple little pieces of dust that were in there.
Yeah.
So he's taking 1,000 grit and sanding this down, then he's going to buff it back and the shine will come back, which I wasn't aware of that. I think that's pretty amazing that you could have that dull finish and then buff it and it'll come back shining. And then you can get a little view of this angle on the light up here on the cowl, just how shiny and nice looking that is. And black is extremely tough, you know, with body work and that. My uncle is a fanatic with his body work. Now, this isn't, you know, a restoration project where it's sent off to the restoration shop and 200 grand later you got a finished car. My uncle is doing everything himself, from every nut and bolt, dismantling, reassembling, all the paint work. I'll show you the engine over here. What was the specs on the engine, Uncle Jerry? It's a 383. What was the horsepower on this from the factory?
383 four-barrel, 325 horse. Let's see what else. Four-barrel, Carter four-barrel, dual snorkel air cleaner, and pretty much that was it. And like I said earlier, this would probably be considered the Roadrunner for 1967, because in 1968 they brought out the Roadrunner, and they had the 383 four-barrel standard, and it had 10 more horsepower than what I have here, and different air cleaner and a different body style with a Roadrunner on the side of it and stuff like that. But basically, you'd probably say that this would be a Roadrunner for 67 with the two-door sedan body.
You can see underneath the hood, engine bay completely detailed, all new suspension parts, everything detailed out. The engine is going to be gone through and freshened up. He was explaining to me about that. It was rebuilt once, and it didn't have that many miles. Would you say about 6,000 miles?
About 6,000.
So it's pretty new. They're basically going to go through and freshen it up. He had port and polished heads and everything, so it's going to be a nice setup. You're going back to the factory cam? Or
well, yeah.
Because they had a
little hotter than factory.
Okay, it had a pretty steep cam in it, I remember back in the 80s when you changed it.
Yeah, but I had a lot of chrome on it, valve covers, the air cleaner, all that stuff. But I'm going back to factory stock original stuff, all painted, no chrome on it at all, because that's the way it come from the factory.
There's a picture up on the wall here, back in the 80s, at one of the car shows. You see it had the Mopar rally wheels. Now, when you do the wheels, I'm assuming you're going back to the steel wheel with the dog dish hubcap in the center?
Yeah, yeah.
That was the original look?
Right.
Which is awesome.
I got the original wheels, original hubcaps. They've all been gone through, restored, and it'll look exactly like it was when I ordered it.
So you got engine going in, you got all your body parts, everything painted. Transmission you said was updated. It's
Yeah.
4-speed, going to be it's all redone. And then the gear you're going to stick with the 391, and that's all rebuilt as well.
Mm-hmm. Everything's rebuilt or restored. That's all I got to do now is assembly. I've been assembling the windows. I put the windows in the doors in the quarter and stuff like that. So after that's done, the steering column and minor things like that, and then I could start to assemble the body, put the fenders on it, sand and buff it, and it should be ready by maybe next year, early summer.
How many years you been into this project now?
Well, it's been apart since 1989, 90, but it's sat for a long time, and maybe I've been into it maybe 4 years, you know,
Now,
steady.
okay.
Yeah.
And during the summer, the Hemi, he's got a 70 Hemi Cuda, like I said in that other video we showcased, sits right here next to it. So that is stored in the off season, and then he has his whole garage here to do whatever he needs, and he uses the dollies under the wheels. You can see it was showing me earlier how you can roll this thing around and turn it around. He's got plenty of room here, heated garage to do. He's retired, so he can spend whenever he feels like doing work on it. He can do work on it all through the winter and fall and spring season. So I am looking forward to seeing this car out, because it's been many years since I've seen it out on the road, and it'll be cool. My uncle frequents all the local cruises, and he's not afraid to drive his cars. A lot of people are, oh man, this is a classic car. These are worth so much money. I can't drive them. I can't take them. I got to trail them everywhere. He drives all his stuff. He enjoys his stuff, and that's what it's about. So just wanted to give you guys a little look at the 67 Plymouth, where it's at. Please check out the other video, Uncle Jerry's Garage, Hemi Cuda and Mopars. That video, we put it up about a year or so ago, a year and a half. It's on the channel file. If you scroll through the videos, you'll get the full story on both vehicles. And just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in and watching the video. I want to thank my Uncle Jerry for inviting us into his garage and telling us the story of the 67 Plymouth. Till next time, please don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. Rich from 2RC Productions here, signing out. Thanks for watching.